What are the events in Luke's account of the Nativity? Hi, I'm Dr. James Holt, and as we read Luke's account of the Nativity, it's important to note that he was writing for a Roman audience and also addressed the Greek world. We don't find the genealogy of Jesus until chapter 3, when the events of the Nativity are over. And the genealogy that Luke uses is specifically influenced by his audience. Taking it back to Adam and from there to God, Luke was extending the message to all of the human family, including the Gentiles. Luke then begins his account of the Nativity with the story of Elizabeth and her husband Zacharias. In distinction to the male-dominated narrative of Matthew, one of the first events in Luke is the closing of the mouth of Zacharias, the man. The remainder of the story very much focuses on Mary. In Matthew, it was Joseph who was recorded as hearing the message from the angel in a dream. In Luke, he includes the events of the Annunciation to Mary. There's some suggestion that Mary may have been a source for Luke's writings, and this would go some way to explain the detailed narrative that Luke chooses to include. It's also fairly indicative of other aspects of Luke's Gospel. Throughout Luke, there are examples of the author including the stories of those that perhaps are found on the periphery of society, those who may not always have a voice. It begins in the Nativity with a focus on the role of women, but also extends throughout his Gospel. Unique to Luke are the stories of social outcasts, which include the Good Samaritan, Lazarus and a deserted beggar, and also lepers. The Greeks and Romans spread their culture and language all over the world with the intent of bettering the lives of people. Luke's message of Christ would appeal to their mind. There are further examples of this within the Nativity story. Luke is the author who includes the detail that Mary brought forth her firstborn son and wrapped him in swaddling clothes and laid him in a manger because there was no room for them in the inn. There could be no more humble beginning for the Saviour of the world. After Mary, Joseph and John the Baptist, the first witnesses to the identity of Jesus as the Son of God were similarly lowly. It's important to note that the shepherds, while great examples, were of a low station. This highlights that the message wasn't just for the rich and the powerful, but also for the poor and lowly. Jesus came into the world to save all people, Christians believe, and Luke emphasises this in reciting this part of the story. The final people in Luke's account who have a part to play with two faithful people, Simeon and Anna. They had waited years to witness the Messiah and did so when Jesus was taken to the temple at the age of 8 days, and there they recognised him as the Anointed One. Luke's telling of the Nativity story expands significantly the scope of the impact of the birth of the Saviour for Christians.